What's up, Seth? Thanks for joining, man. We're going to have reaction to the Jerry Jones press conference, man. And get the pulse of how Cowboy fan is feeling. What's up, Mike? What's up, Sam Salinas? Matt Gomez says, Nombre Mike's late. Tecuache. There he is. I wonder how Cowboy fans feeling this morning. Jerry Jones is a fool, man. Oh, you know what? Gotta wish a happy birthday.
Oh, yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. Birthday grito coming up.
It says, thanks for everything. You're welcome, man. Glad I was able to help you out, my friend.
Welcome to another episode of the Area 210 podcast with Mike Jimenez and Joe Garcia. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Join the discussion as we broadcast to you live from beautiful West San Antonio. And remember to tip your host as it helps the show grow.
What up, what up? My name's Mike Jimenez. That's Joe Garcia. This is the Area 210 podcast coming at you from the west side of San Antonio. We're going to go for about an hour 15, hour 30, talking sports, pop culture, and nostalgia. We do have a lot to get into. First and foremost, it is Greg Popovich's 76th birthday. So happy birthday to the Spurs legendary head coach, one of the GOATs, one of the greatest of all time. Turning 76 years old today. Hope his recovery is getting better. A rumor on the street is that Pop might be coming back to the Spurs at some point. You and I have debated this, Joe. I don't mind him coming back to finish the season. I don't. Okay, like Cypress Hill saying back in the day, I don't want him going out like that.
Okay? Or was it, don't call it a comeback?
Well, I mean, I don't want it to be a full comeback because if we see Pop on the bench next year, I'm going to be a little bit pissed, right?
Or you see him finish out the whole rest of the season this year.
Oh, I'm going to finish Wemby's contract out, man. But it's one of those things where, boomers need to move on, man. And the two biggest boomers we have right now are Greg Popovich and we have Jerry Jones. We got to talk about Jerry Jones, man. Jerry Jones yesterday, Stephen Jones, one of the most tone-deaf press conferences you'll ever see. Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones, as they introduced Brian Schottenheimer as head coach of, quote-unquote, America's team. Dude, I didn't think about it. Is that a Nepo hire? Is Brian Schottenheimer only the head coach of an NFL team because his last name is Schottenheimer? Because that's a family name. His dad was a coach for many, many years. I wouldn't say legendary, but a very good coach over the years. Family members were coaches. I hadn't really thought about that. Maybe he is a Nepo baby. Maybe he is just somebody who got a job simply because of the name.
Well, what did Jerry Jones say? No pun intended. He goes, I'm taking a big shot on shots or something like that.
Yeah. Meantime, our good friend RJ Ochoa from Blogging the Boys is losing his mind on bloggingtheboys.com because he just saw that press conference and it was just pissed off the entire time. I don't know if Cowboy Nation right now is pissed off or depressed.
I think they're both, man. They're pissed off and they're depressed because they're depressed of the winning. I'm not the winning, but the losing that's been going on for so many years, and now they're pissed off because of this hire that makes no sense.
Because it was the least aggressive hire of all time.
Yeah,
you could have gone after a Deion Sanders, but what you saw was other people use the Cowboys as leverage. We've seen that from football players like Von Miller, who used the Cowboys as leverage to go someplace else. We saw Pete Carroll take a job with the Las Vegas Raiders, flirt with the Cowboys for a minute, then get the deal over there. Deion Sanders is getting a raise. Why is he getting a raise? Flirt with the Cowboys. They had no intention of joining the Cowboys. Even if Jerry Jones did make that hard move to go after a big name, they're not going to want to come to Dallas.
No.
Not as long as Jerry's there. We'll talk about that some more. Spurs going to be back in action pretty soon. Going to be going into that big rodeo road trip. I asked a question on Twitter last night, and we have a poll that you can still vote on. Should the Spurs consider moving on from Chris Paul III? Legendary point guard, point god, if you will. He's on an expiring deal. Should the Spurs entertain the idea of getting something for him? We got something for DeMar DeRozan. We got something for DeJounte. We got something for Derek White. We got something for Thad Young. Should the Spurs explore the possibility of flipping him for a pick?
At this point, what is he worth as far as picks go?
See, I think people are looking at it the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people were on Twitter yesterday when I was talking about this saying, well, who wants a washed-up point guard? Well,
A lot of people do.
It's funny because, he's a great player for us, but when it comes to trading, the same Spurs fans will call him washed up, right?
Yeah.
It's not that. The other team would covet something else. Look at the Lakers. Look at teams like the Heat. They would covet Chris Paul because two things. A, backup point guard, right? Just a backup point guard for the playoff run. Phoenix, maybe. Backup point guard for the playoff run. But what they get out of it, Joe, is $13 million in free cap space for next year. So when we look at it as fans, we look at it as, well, what is the positive and negative on the court? How a franchise might look at it, they might look at it as though, hey, well, look, we're getting a guy for our playoff run. We're going to be able to drop his $10.5 million salary because it expires. And if we trade a first-round draft pick that's pick number 20, 22, 23, 24,
Yeah.
that's $2.5 million we don't have to pay next year. 2.5 plus 10.5 is $13 million in cap space for a future year. Do you think teams like the Lakers care about first-round draft picks?
No.
They don't. They want players. They do it the opposite way of the Spurs. The Spurs are like all about the picks. The Lakers are all about free agents. And the only way that you can get free agents is what? By doing what you can to free up cap space. Pseudo C. Matt. Hey, that's a new name.
No, he's been around.
He's
here
been
for a while.
around?
Yeah.
Okay, well, very nice. Welcome to the show. Says, absolutely. Spurs keep it in past February 6th is them dabbling in mediocrity. It's just like when we stupidly held on to an 80-year-old LaMarcus Aldridge for no reason whatsoever. Maximize your draft pick. Maximize your draft capital. Do you want to get into this conversation first, Joe? Do you want to talk about the Spurs? Do you want to talk about the Cowboys? I'm going to let you pick on this one, Joe.
Nah, we always start with the Spurs. Let's talk about Cowboys first.
Let's talk about the Cowboys, man. The most tone-deaf ever of a press conference was held yesterday. This is narcissism at its finest or at its worst, depending on how you look at it. Narcissism is basically defined as though you can do no wrong, and it's all about you. And Stephen Jones said this, and if we can show my screen real fast, we
Sure.
can see if we can call it up.
Yeah.
Stephen Jones, when talking about the hire of Brian Schottenheimer and about how fans are upset about the team's lack of success over 3 decades, here's what he had to say.
Obviously, we're also evaluating where it didn't go right, in terms of, this drought that people say we're in terms of a championship game or a Super Bowl. And
He used air quotes in drought. Keep in mind, not only have the Cowboys not won a Super Bowl in nearly 3 decades, but the fact that they haven't been to the NFC Championship game in that long as well. It's been since 1995. Every team in the NFC, there are 14 other teams in the NFC. I mean, teams that have bad histories, the Saints, the Falcons, the Buccaneers, all of these teams have had ups and downs. The Giants, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Lions, the Vikings. Every single one, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Niners, every single one has been in an NFC Championship game since 2010. Cowboys have not, and you have to go back another 15 years to 1995. So Stephen Jones saying, well, maybe we have to reevaluate what we do when it comes to free agency. What do you mean what we do in free agency?
You
Didn't
shit.
Didn't do shit. Didn't do nothing. And you see RJ Ochoa of Blogging the Boys going off and saying, this just sounds awful. It just sounds tone deaf as to what he's doing.
Look at this. Studo C-Mat. He's asking a question from you, Mike. Look at what he's saying. Mike, is there room on the Saints bandwagon? I'm done with the Cowboys.
Well, you know what? We're tanking for Arch, aren't we, man? The Saints are the only team that doesn't have a head coach. I think we're the only one still standing, and there's a lot of
Mike McCarthy
is a possibility. I think they're looking at maybe even Kellen Moore as well. So the Saints are going to take their time when it comes to it. Now, the Cowboys did make some moves. Former Bears head coach Mark Eberflus is headed to Dallas for an interview, and it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, Eberflus has already been hired as the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So Brian Schottenheimer will be making the calls for your Dallas Cowboys. And Joe, one of the things that I thought was interesting was a quote from Brian Schottenheimer. Brian Schottenheimer was talking about what he brings to the table. Keep in mind, people like RJ Ochoa, people who follow, Jane Slater, Clarence Hill, who follow the Cowboys, are like, dude, this guy has no history of success. He was an offensive coordinator last year, didn't even call the plays. So if you're an offensive coordinator not calling the plays, what exactly are you doing? And let's hear from the new commander-in-chief.
You are the core of this program.
Of the Cowboys, the new head coach, Brian Schottenheimer, talking about taking over this team.
You are the core of this program, and we will focus on you every day. To Dak, JT, JB, Demo, Brock, T-Sizz, Josh Butler, Kalen, Carson, Scooney, you're back there. I don't know if anybody else snuck in that I missed. It means the world to me that you guys are here. And I can't wait to do this alongside you, to get to know you guys at an even deeper level. I want to get to know your hearts. I want to capture your hearts and let you guys get a great feel for me. But thank you for being here.
So the Dallas Cowboys faithful were out there. He had some members of the Cowboys out there. He was greeted by his family. So we do see his family out there. So it's a big day for the Schottenheimer family. It's a big day for Brian Schottenheimer, who did say during the press conference that he wanted to be a head coach, that it was his goal to be the youngest head coach of all time, but he had to wait till age 51 to make that happen. So, I mean, there are some proud moments. What I did find interesting, though, about what he had to say about what he wants to do as a Cowboys head coach was, even though they kept talking about Dak, he was basically saying, look, man, I want to run the ball. He goes, when I am most successful as an offensive coordinator, I run the ball. And in fact, we lead the league in rushing a couple of times since he's had it. So when you hear that, Joe, do you like the fact that he's saying we're going to shy away from depending on Dak so much, and we're going to try to establish the run?
It's a nice pipe dream, but who do you got to establish the run with? What pieces do you have on this team? You ain't done shit in the offseason. You're not making any trades. You're not making any moves while other teams are out there shoring up their rosters. Cowboys, they have shown that they have no interest in winning.
Okay, so this was the interesting quote that I saw. This is courtesy of DallasCowboys.com. They're asking him, give me your offensive philosophy. Again, he was an offensive coordinator who did not get to call plays because Mike McCarthy was doing that. What is he going to be doing offensively that's different than what McCarthy was doing and maybe even what Kellen Moore was doing in the past?
Yeah.
Obviously, the starting point for me would be things that our players do well. You're always going to start with that. If your system's not flexible enough to do what your players do well, then you're probably in the wrong business. But I'm a big believer in cut splits, big believer in shifts and motions to distort things. We're going to do a great job of marrying our runs and our passes and make those look the same. I'm proud to say that 2 different times in my career as a coordinator, we led the league in rushing. And they go hand in hand. The running game and the action passing game go hand in hand.
Okay, so a couple of things about that. That's Brian Schottenheimer, new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. He mentioned the running game And he also mentioned the fact that play action pass is what's needed. That's a nice way of saying we can't use Dak's legs anymore. He's saying we need the offensive pass plays and the offensive run plays to look the same. The Cowboys were like that, Joe. Just depending on their formation, you kind of knew if they were going to pass or run the ball.
Yeah.
They had the belief of, well, just stop us. And don't get me wrong, Dak would throw up a lot of stats, right? He'd throw for 350, 400 at times. And it was like, just go, this is what we're doing, go do that. But he's basically saying, you know what? Because Dak can't run, because he cannot get out of the pocket and squeak out, we're going to have to disguise everything that we do. And he goes on to say, run the ball, because, again, he says twice under him, a team has had the best running game in around. Rico Dowdle is a free agent. Zeke Elliott's gone. Dalvin Cook is gone. They literally have no running backs. Doesn't this say that it is imperative, that it is mandatory, it is a must, it is a priority for them to go get Ashton Jeanty, star running back for the Boise State Broncos?
Yeah, they need to be able to shore up their running game, and that's a good way to do it. Because Rico Dowdle, he's not it, dude. He's all right, but he ain't going to be your RB1.
So if you go to the list of the teams that are in order for the draft, right? Tennessee has the number 1 overall pick. Obviously, they're going to go get a quarterback. Maybe Shadur Sanders, maybe Cam Ward. You figure the Giants are going to go get one as well because they're moving on from Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
There's some big names like Travis Hunter, Heisman Trophy winner, who's going to go in the top 5. Mason Graham. We all know that players like Abdul Carter is going to be up there as well. Kelvin Banks, the tackle from the University of Texas, Malachi Starks. These are all considered to be the top 10 shoo-ins. Will Campbell from LSU. At 12, the Cowboys, Ashton Jeanty. That's what Tankathon has as their mock draft. I'm looking at the teams ahead of them. Michael Williams, so the possibly going to the Niners. The Niners don't need a running back, right? They've got McCaffrey. They've got Deebo Samuel as a wideout who doesn't run, right? The Saints still have Kamara. So will the Saints go after an Ashton Jeanty? Maybe not, but maybe they might, tease that they might. Maybe try to pick up a 3rd or 4th rounder to switch spots or whatever the case may be. The Bears have a decent running game. The Panthers and the Jets have other issues. The Jets have Breece Hall. They don't need a running game.
Yeah.
So the question is, did the Cowboys just sit there at 12 and go, based on everybody above us, we don't think any team's going to take Ashton Jeanty at 3 or at 5 or at 8. Do they roll the dice and sit there at 12 and hope and pray that he falls to them? Because it looks as it is right now that's the way they would go. But the thing about the NFL draft, Joe, is that unlike any draft, dude, there's movers and shakers, and there's none of this thing about, oh, well, they're in our division, our conference. We can't trade. That's what they do in the NBA.
Yeah.
In the NFL, picks fly, and teams move up, move down, and they go get their guy. Joe, should the Cowboys sit there at 12, or should they move on up? Because I'm looking at it, I don't think they can look at their fans,
Right.
and say, well, we got Kelvin Banks Jr. He's a really good offensive tackle. It's not sexy.
Nah, they got to do something, man. In my opinion, if you want to go ahead and win the fan base back, you got to make an aggressive move. We got to move up in the draft and get something. Somebody, do something.
Right.
They've done absolutely nothing but sit on their laurels this whole offseason. And they had players available, but they didn't want marquee players. They wanted Zeke, and the thing is, look at this. We have this from Blogging the Boys right now. Just saw this. They posted this 16 hours ago, right? Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa, and all
Right.
them. It says, we should be rooting for Brian Schottenheimer to succeed. What's done is done, and most importantly, it isn't his fault. The Cowboys owe him help. They better support him.
And that would mean that they would have to change the philosophy. That would mean that, in a way, just based on if they change what they're doing, that means that they're actually admitting that they're wrong. right? That not going after free agents. Derrick Henry, who lives in Dallas, wanted to play for the Cowboys and said, they didn't even call me. They could have gotten him. Instead, they went and got Zeke for almost the same price point.
And where's Zeke's now?
Gone. They got rid of him during the for a playoff run.
Exactly.
Meantime, you have the corpse that used to be Jerry Jones going off and saying some funky stuff.
The Crypt Keeper.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes. Very low percentage. There's
Jerry Jones talking about glory holes.
Jerry, stop.
Jerry, come on.
Stop it.
And again, the press conference, him talking, Jerry Jones talking about the greatness that was his idea of taking Brian Schottenheimer. Now, there were some people out there saying that Steven and Jerry conflicted as to who to go after.
No.
One wanted to go after Dion, one wanted to go after Kellen Moore, one wanted to go after Brian Schottenheimer. But at the end of the day, narcissists want control. At the end of the day, they want them to bow and kiss the ring. And here is Jerry Jones, who's in his 80s now, talking about how he's the one for the job, right? The only person that can rebuild this team is him. And this was his reaction to hiring Brian Schottenheimer.
Now, I get my proverbial ass kicked over needing people in my comfort zone. Without this thing being about me in any way, if you don't think I can't operate out of my comfort zone, you're so wrong. It's unbelievable. This is as big a risk as you could take. As big a risk as you could take. No head coaching experience. Now, let me share something with you. With all of that, you've just heard him reference his osmosis, his family. Anybody in this room that doesn't believe the apple doesn't go far from the tree has missed it someplace down the road.
Nepotism.
Especially if there was an effort to make it that way, and there was an effort. But then you go around to the countless numbers of coaches that Shotty has served on staff with and been around, the countless players. How often do you have someone that has 25, I'm going to say 25, it may be 26, of years of working through the human relationship and working, aspiring to learn, of have his ears and eyes wide open and looking for techniques and looking for things that make coaches better.
Literally every single coordinator in the NFL, every single coordinator and head coach in college football has that, Jerry Jones. Shut the F up. You sound like a moron. Jerry Jones, still the general manager of this team, going to be 83 years old when the season starts. Or, well, in October, as the season's getting into the first month.
I'm surprised Jerry didn't hire himself as the next head coach.
That's the next step, right? And Raul reaches out to us on our YouTube stream, which is powered to us by MCS General Contracting, saying Jerry just wanted a puppet he could control.
Yeah.
And he all but alluded to that. Because he knows what you are seeing from all of this, Joe, is the fact that Jerry and Steven have heard what every fan has to say, what every blog has to say, what every ESPN talking head has to say, FS1, all of that. And they've all turned around and just given the middle finger to their fan base.
Basically.
And I know we have some people who are like, well, let's give Brian Schottenheimer a shot, you know, I'm still with you, Sohan, type of thing.
Yeah.
And ESPN's Stephen A. Smith, who a notorious Cowboy hater, right? I'm a Cowboy hater myself. Maybe not. I'm not as notorious as this guy.
Yeah.
But it almost sounds as though it has gotten so bad for the Cowboys that even Stephen A. Smith is having a hard time laughing about it. Because like me, I like the Cowboys to do good and then wet the bed. Like they did against the Green Bay Packers a couple of years ago in the playoffs, right? Here's Stephen A. Smith on ESPN's First Take.
The Dallas Cowboys as a franchise, they're making money. You announcing it and then introducing this new coach the week before the Super Bowl, that's not accidental. You're still playing the same old game. Yep. You still got the same old game plan. This is as transparent as all get out. Here we are. We want to make news. We want to make headlines. But you're not doing anything to elevate the status of your franchise, the Dallas Cowboy fan base. You hear how quiet they are right now? It's like crickets. Because they know what they're seeing now. Before they were delusional, that's what made me laugh. And that's what made me troll them all the time. Because they were delusional. I'm not going to hear any Cowboys say, you know we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, right? We going to hear that anymore. He's taking the fun out of it all. Because at least you teased me. At least you lied to me. You led me to believe that you really, really believed you have a chance. They know better now. They know better now.
Stephen A. Smith on First Take basically saying the Cowboys fans know what's up. Like we know it. It was delusional for a while because you have back-to-back 12-win seasons. You have hope because you're in the playoffs. You maybe have a 3 seed. You know, weird things can happen. Injuries could happen. Brock Purdy gets hurt. You know, certain things can happen. Aaron Rodgers goes from Green Bay to the Jets. Certain things happen, and you convince yourself as a fan base that something good can happen.
I don't know what's been worse, seeing the receding of the Cowboy Nation, you know, having hopes of grandeur, and now they're kind of just coming back down to earth, or the receding hairline of one Stephen A. Smith.
There you go, Stephen A.
Man,
Smith's
it's getting
hairline.
worse, bro.
I know he's got to get that Propecia action going. Got a $5 super chat coming in from Jason Garcia, listening in the Pacific Northwest. He says, why is he at the introduction of the head coach? It's not about you. Step aside such narcissistic tendencies that he has. The thing about it is this is Jerry Jones's toy. This is his toy. There are certain people who buy franchises or inherit franchises, and they decide that they're going to go off and hire the best people to do what they do, right? Take a look at the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions have a female owner. Her name is Sheila Ford Hamp. If you want to show my screen on Sheila Ford. Thank you, by the way, Jason, for the $5 super chat and for the support. Sheila Ford Hamp, part of the Ford family. Interesting thing. Not only is she part of the Ford family, but she's also part of the Michelin family. Bridgestone, rather.
Yeah.
Bridgestone. And she took over. And do people know who Sheila Ford Hamp is? No. She's probably richer than Jerry. But do people know who she is? No. But do you know what she did when she took over the team? She actually hired Dan Campbell. And not only that, stood by Dan Campbell when they struggled. When they went 3-13. And said, no, this is our guy. This is our GM. We need to take our time in rebuilding this franchise. And she has done an amazing job. She could walk in to any restaurant, any grocery store in Detroit. People might not even know who she is.
Yeah, smart lady, though, man.
Smart business person, right? But the thing is that Jerry Jones, he loves a celebrity.
Oh, he likes the spotlight, bro.
He does. And keep in mind, you know, I've talked to you about this before, and I mentioned this before. I've had the opportunity of hanging out with Jerry Jones one time in my life.
He welcomed you to Cowboy Nation.
He did. I said, no, thanks. I said, no, thanks. I met Jerry Jones back in the early 2000s, and I had cocktails with him, and the dude got drunk. He got drunk.
Really?
It was me and Anthony Pittman and Raul Cortez from KBB. We got drunk with Jerry Jones one time, and he started talking trash, all that stuff. But I thought he was fun. I thought he was a cool guy. He's a cool guy. But these are narcissists, dude. These are people. I mean, think about how Sheila Ford. Imagine if Sheila Ford had taken over this team.
Yeah.
And said to herself, "Well, you know, I am the owner. I'm going to name myself GM."
I like how they do this. They said Mike's capping. I look at Tall Tale Alert.
We had Anthony Pittman on the show. What, about a year ago?
Yeah.
He talked about it. So if I'm lying, then he's lying.
Hey, Pitt and his wife are good people, man. I really like them, man.
So it's all nepotism at its finest. Let's give some love to MCS General Contracting. They power our super chat here on the Area 210 podcast. They got that Diamond Heart Concrete.
MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business. Honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
That Diamond Heart Concrete, baby. We got those Yetis that we're going to give away one of them. Fantastic. I looked inside. There were some stickers for MCS General Contracting inside there as well. I was using it last night. It was the first time I used my MCS Yeti. They do an amazing job when it comes to concrete placement. Okay. I know all of y'all are going to want a pool. You're going to want some sort of, had a sidewalk done to my house, extension to a patio. If it involves concrete, give these guys a call. 210-774-9155. Chris Leha and fellas.
You know, you got summer coming around, right? What does everybody want? A nice little slab out in the backyard where you can build a pergola, a gazebo, something like that. Call MCS, man. They can help you with everything. It goes beyond just concrete. They know a bunch of other people in the construction business, so that's why they're called MCS General Contracting. If you want it done right the first time, give my boy Chris Leha a call, man.
So we didn't talk about something yesterday that we probably should have. Hey guys, something we should have talked about yesterday was the fact that yesterday was the 5-year anniversary of the passing of Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant died 5 years ago, and I'm thinking about it, Joe.
Yeah,
I can't think of a death of a sports athlete that impacted me more. You know, we're looking at KCBS in Los Angeles, the day that it happened, and the crash, and he lost his daughter Gigi as well, and it's been 5 years. 5 years, Joe, courtesy of CBS News.
I still can't believe they show the smoldering, remains of the helicopter and all that.
Well, I mean, it just kind of is what it is, man.
It's very morbid.
I'm going to go to 2 box on this one.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant passed away.
MCS General Contracting. Sorry, my button.
No problem. Kobe passed away 5 years ago, and it's one of those things where you hear the news, the breaking news that he had passed, and it's like, nah, man.
We didn't believe it, right? At first, everybody couldn't believe. We thought it was a joke, right? Like it has to be. It's not real, right?
That's the way that it felt. It felt like someone was just joking with us, and I remember all the NBA games, because it happened during the NBA season, they all had a moment of silence, and all the players crying on the court
in disbelief,
because Kobe Bryant, whether Spurs fans liked him or not, and I couldn't stand him when he played. I knew he was great, but I couldn't stand him. He was an ambassador for the sport to the point where all these players love to work out with him. You go on YouTube and you see all these podcasts of former athletes who talk about like how he took the time to work out with them one time and show them what to do. Meet me at the gym at 4 a.m. Do this at some nondescript middle school to work on this, that, and the other. And now he always had time to work with somebody, and then he had gone off and was beginning a career in entertainment. He was winning awards. And Kobe Bryant by no means was perfect. We don't know what happened in that hotel room in Colorado.
Hey, but his wife stood by him that whole time.
$5 million ring will help you do that, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy when you think about it. And Kobe Bryant was a young man. He'll never get old because he died so young. Amazing. It's just crazy how that all happened. You never know. And the helicopter crash was because he was trying to take himself, his daughter, her friend, and some parents to a basketball game. And because it was foggy and traffic was bad, they were going to take a helicopter over there. The terrain is a little bit odd over there. The fog was thicker than they thought. And the pilot did not know which way was up.
Yeah. Went right into the side of the hill there, man.
Sam Salinas reaches out and says, Spurs had the first game after his death, early game on the same day. Other games later that day were postponed. Midtown says, my favorite non-Spurs player to ever watch play ball. Jade at HNSBC saying, toughest mentally ever. You hear that phrase, Mamba mentality. Kobe Bryant was a very, very good player and obviously a top 20 player of all time. I never considered him to be top 5 or top 10. A lot of players now consider him to be top 2 or 3, like NBA players from today. But they do that because they loved him.
Yeah.
It's not because I think they actually believe that, right? He forced his way from Charlotte to the Lakers as a high schooler. That trade that involved Vlade Divac going to the Charlotte Hornets. Kobe was an excellent player. He talked so highly of the Spurs. And he died 5 years ago. Can't believe it's been 5 years.
No, it's been a while.
And Vanessa Bryant hasn't remarried.
Did you hear this weirdest thing, dude? I saw somebody put this already on here, but do you check this out? Studo C-Man said, did you all see the Duke Center last night? Haman Maluch pulled the Linda Blair vomit session mid-game. I'm like, oh, man.
Yeah, was that the guy that they carried carried out of the game?
I'm not going to show the actual vomit, but this is funny to me because, look, they're using just like every towel in the vicinity to clean this mess up, and they even have the trash can there and all that. I mean, I feel sorry for all these people.
Yeah, so Duke was playing NC State, and it was a 1-point game at the time, 63-62, with 4 minutes to go in the game. And USA Today is saying that he puked between the letters K and E when they were chanting D-U-K-E. There was a brief delay at the Cameron Indoor Stadium to clean up the vomit. The Duke Center had 4 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks, and blown up chunks in 28 minutes. Apparently, according to the Duke head coach, John Shayer, they said he wasn't sick, that it was a reaction to him cramping, and that he had Gatorade too quickly, and he threw up the Gatorade. But they had to stop the game because of that craziness.
That's hilarious, dude. How embarrassing can it be for you to be able to you do something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then everybody has to get all the towels in the vicinity to clean up your mess. God.
Let's give some love to our good friend. You were on Locked On Spurs yesterday, Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5.
I'm going to tell you all the story when we come back.
All right.
Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/@LockedOnSpurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
That's right. More than 5,000 subscribers. Can't be wrong. Locked On Spurs, wherever you get your podcasts. I do it on YouTube. I do it on Spotify as well. What's going on, Joe? Tell me the story.
Oh, it's funny, man. So Jeff's texting me last night, right? And he's telling me, hey, Joe, we're on TV. I'm like, what? So he's showing me that we're actually on the app, like Ken's 5. They have like a Ken's 5 app, right, on the Roku devices and whatnot. So Ken's 5 put our podcast that me and Jeff did, and it was right there available for everybody to see.
Wow.
I guess when you go to the Ken's 5 app, right there on the front page, so you could watch the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast on the TV and whatnot. Thought that was pretty cool. A funny moment, though, was when me and Jeff were talking, and he was like, Joe, what's your Care Bear gangster name? You know, and I was playing in the chat here, you know, with some other people that we kind of privately chat with, and they're like, we saw that episode, and they thought it was funny, right? And they go, what's Jeff's Care Bear gangster name? And I said, it's Jeff Cash-A-Lot, because he's Moneybags. Care Cash-A-Lot. Care
go.
Cash-A-Lot, you know? So that was funny to me.
That's funny. Jeff Garcia is revealing also right now that the Spurs game next week against the Atlanta Hawks the time has been moved. So the game is going to be now at 6 p.m., tip off at 6 p.m. because ESPN has decided that they want to televise it. It's a big game for the Spurs because the Spurs own Atlanta's pick. And if you take a look at the standings right now, Joe, don't look now, but Atlanta Hawks have lost 5 in a row, Joe.
So you tell me there's a chance.
There's a chance. Atlanta is sinking, and Atlanta has a really tough schedule coming up, just like the Spurs. Right now, if you look at the picks right now, Chicago's pick is at number 9. Again, it's top 10 protected. San Antonio and Atlanta are numbers 10 and 11. So if the season ended right now and things went as they would normally go to form, Spurs would be picking 10 and 11. Right? That Atlanta pick is starting to sink. Now, if Chicago can somehow leapfrog over Atlanta in the standings, we then have a chance of getting all 3 picks this year, Joe. It doesn't look like any of these picks are going to be, a juicy top 3 or 4 pick unless the Spurs win the lottery in any one of them. But now that Chicago pick is getting a little bit more interesting because I told you last week, Joe, I said, what? For the Spurs to get that Chicago pick, somebody who's playing right around 500 or better needs to fall off the face of the earth. And lo and behold, here come the Atlanta Hawks right on time.
You want to say Falcons?
So bad. So bad. Lo and behold, the Atlanta Hawks coming on strong. And if you look at the Atlanta Hawks' schedule, it is getting to be kind of brutal.
Look at that. Pledger was in here for a minute here. He says Mike does embarrassing things every day because we're talking about the Duke player throwing up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pledge. I miss that guy, man.
We need to get him back on the show, man.
I miss Pledger, dude.
Maybe he'll be there on Saturday with us.
I hope so. I'll
reach out to him and invite him personally.
Here's what we got going on for the Atlanta Hawks. Remember I told you that they've lost 5 in a row.
Yeah.
They have a game against the Rockets. The Rockets coming in strong. Then they got the Cavaliers, a road game against the Pacers, a road game against the Pistons. Then they've got the Spurs, and they've got the Bucks. Those are 6 games Atlanta could lose right away.
Hope so.
And then all of a sudden, the Spurs are back in the mix of getting 3 picks again, just in time for the rodeo road trip, just in time for that. So next Thursday, the Spurs, NBA, it's the trade deadline for the NBA.
Sure is.
What happens then? What do the Spurs do? Because the Spurs have 2 expiring deals that are tasty that other teams might want. Chris Paul III, Trey Jones. Both of them making about $10 million a year.
Yeah.
Both of them expiring deals. I don't think you're going to get anything for Trey Jones other than a second rounder. But a late round, first round pick for a CP3 for a team that may want to have $13 million in cap space next year as opposed to getting a draft pick this year. Again, the mentality is different, Joe. A lot of these teams don't care about first round picks if they're in their 20s. The Spurs, Brian Wright holds it like it's Lord of the Rings, like it's their precious, right?
Yeah, and this is the funny thing, man. Look at this. James Pledger's in here right now. He says, if the team doesn't learn how to win, it'll be harder and harder to dig out of it. And then they'll become a consistently bottom-dwelling team.
I agree, but at the end of the day, the Spurs are looking at the gauntlet that is going to 10 games out of 12 on the road. And this is a team that doesn't play well on the road. And if the Spurs go 4-8 at that time, they're not going to make the play, and then they don't get anything for what they have.
I like this. Jesse A, say his name and he appears. You say James Pledger's name 3 times.
Oh, he's the Beetlejuice of our show.
Area 210 podcast.
So I was looking up other teams and, trade rumors involving Chris Paul, right? I like hearing what other teams would say as a possibility. And there was one that I saw yesterday. It was Sporting News. The Sporting News used to be really good back in the day.
Yeah, not so much.
But not so much anymore, right? But Sporting News came up with their theory of how to get Chris Paul to play with LeBron James and Anthony Davis for a new run, a playoff run this year, right? And I'm going to say this, Joe. I saw the trade offer, and I would do it in a heartbeat. The proposed trade would be Chris Paul and Zach Collins. Booty Crumbs would get his ass out of here.
Get his ass out of here.
Okay. Now here's who the Spurs would receive according to the Sporting News. Rui Hashimura, who a lot of Spurs fans, Zags, Gonzaga guys remember.
Okay.
The guy can shoot. Gabe Vincent, who I remember from the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Veteran presence. And somebody named Jalen Hood Shafinta, who I'm not a big
his name will be gone, dude.
Yes, his name would be gone. But a Rui Hashimura, 26 years old, shoots 48% from the field, averaging 12 points per game. If that happened, dude, I would do it in a heartbeat. Taryn Ward is on our stream right here saying Paul is washed. It's a punt, Joe. It's a punt. Again, where are all the Spurs fans who got all mad at me when Chris Paul goes out and goes 16 points, 9 assists? I told you he's good. I told you it wasn't a punt, but then he goes out there and goes 5 points and 3 assists, and everyone just kind of goes like crickets. Kind of like all the Jeremy Sohan stands. When he played 14 minutes the other day and had a minus 30 plus minus.
Oh, God.
Where were they?
Gone.
They're gone.
Crickets.
Oh, he was playing out of position. That's what I heard.
No, I was told that he was going to be the savior of the team. That's what Spurs fan didn't Spurs fan tell us that?
Yeah, Drew Show coming out saying Rui Hachimura is just Harrison Barnes. If he would have de-aged himself and not played in Golden State.
He's the newer model Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, he's the 2025 model of Toyota Corolla.
Oh, God, dude. These guys are so bad. Look at this, man.
Yeah.
You're talking about plus minus, right? So Spurs Muse, they put out stats, right? So they went ahead and put, check this out, Mike. The only Spurs with a positive plus minus in January. Castle, Wembayama, Mamu, Sissoko. And it's probably Mamu and Sissoko is probably because they don't get much run. They don't get a lot of burn out there on the court. But look at how it says plus 2. Missing. They don't have a name. Oh, gosh, dude. I mean, and the funny thing was, too, I had mentioned the other time when me and Jeff were handing out midseason grades, and I forgot what player we were talking about. It might have been Chris Paul. And I said, hey, man, his EFG isn't too shabby. I said, that's what you're always looking at, right, Mike?
Yeah.
He said his EFG percentage was not bad at all. So I said, and my counterpart, I said, Mike Jimenez would be proud of Chris Paul right now. He's shooting the ball okay.
He's shooting the ball okay. I mean, it's all about efficiency. And the thing is that two offensive players for the Spurs who are inefficient are Stephon Castle and Jeremy Sohan, which is why when one goes in the game, one comes out. You can't have two of them out there like that. I would much rather have Castle out there being inefficient because at least Castle can pass the ball. He could bring the ball up the court, and he pushes the ball forward. I don't want to hear this whole thing about Jeremy Sohan had a point guard experiment and he can do all that. No. Castle offensively is better than Sohan because a lot of what Castle does, just like Sohan on the defensive end, doesn't show up on the box score.
Yeah.
Okay? Castle is just as good of a defender as Sohan. It's just do you want someone who's going to guard a guard or someone who's going to guard a big? If I hear one more time a Spurs fan say that Jeremy Sohan's a lockdown defender,
no,
I'm going to outright laugh in their face.
You know who was a
Jeremy
better...
Sohan had one good game, an amazing game against Luka Doncic. And every Spurs fan holds on to that. Like Cowboy fans hold on to the 90s and think that they're still America's team. Every Spurs fan holds on to that one moment where Sohan locked down for one game Luka Doncic.
Okay.
And they think that that's the way that he is.
I had one hottest of the hot take, right?
Let's do it.
When I said that prime Kawhi was better than Wemby now. I even talked to my friend Jonas Clark about this yesterday.
And it wasn't a hot take. It was the correct take, but it was hot in the sense that no one wants to admit that.
Yeah. So I talked to my friend Jonas Clark, and he says I wasn't wrong. There's no lie in that statement. The next one, the next hot take that I'm going to lay down for Spurs fans. Prime Bruce Bowen better than Jeremy Sohan. Where's the lie?
Yeah. There's no lie.
And Bruce Bowen wasn't one of these players that you could say is, oh, his name's going to be raised up to the rafters one day.
Well, it is.
I mean, like you would have thought, back in the day, hey, is Bruce Bowen's name going to be raised up to the rafters, right? I don't think Spurs fans would have thought about that back then because they were thinking about the big three, right? Mostly. They weren't thinking about Bruce Bowen. But now that you're looking and you're seeing a comparison between Bruce Bowen being a better player than what, Jeremy Sohan? He was a better lockdown defender. He could shoot the ball better. He just played his position well, right? And I think that's what Jeremy Sohan is. He's just a guy that's out there that needs to just embrace his position and just play that really well. But the thing is with Jeremy Sohan, even though he's above average when it comes to being a defender on this Spurs roster, he's still not going to be that guy that's going to be a prolific three-point shooter like Bruce Bowen.
Well, let's talk about Bruce Bowen real fast in relation to Jeremy Sohan. Bruce Bowen was a lockdown defender.
He was. He guarded some of the best players. He guarded Kobe Bryant.
He guarded Kobe, and he got under his skin, and Bruce Bowen was dirty from time to time. Bruce Bowen was in the Defensive Player of the Year voting 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 seasons with the Spurs. Runner-up 3 times in a row. Was 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting twice. This was somebody who had no shot. Bruce Bowen had no offensive ability. It's also amazing about Bruce Bowen's career is that his first NBA season, full season, he was 26 years old. Look at the three-point shooting that Bruce Bowen had, though. Bruce Bowen went from having no shot whatsoever and not having the ability to drive in. Dude, Bruce Bowen, I don't think I ever saw him make a layup in his entire career. He could not drive in and create a shot for anything.
But that some bitch could hit an open three.
Right? Open three, side three, right? Just automatic. Look at his three-point shooting percentages for the Spurs when he joined the Spurs at age 30. 37.8. He led the league with 44.1%.
Sohan could never.
36.3, 40.3, 42.4, 38.4, 41.9. His final season as a 37-year-old shot 42.9 from 3.
He's money, dude.
For his career, keep in mind, he had bad shooting seasons to start out.
True enough.
For his career, he shot 39.3. 39.3% from 3. The guy couldn't make a two-pointer to save his life.
But he was money from
But
beyond
he was
the arc.
money from the side corner. And it wasn't like all sides. It was that one shot. And if we're going to say that he being Sohan is going to develop that, then great. But Sohan doesn't have that.
Look at Drew's show. Imagine if Bruce had multicolored hair. He'd be in the Hall of Fame, no hombre. He didn't have no hair to begin with. He was bald, but yeah.
And that's the thing, man. Spurs fans get enamored with certain players, and they realize that they're trash. I fell victim to that. I called Lonnie Walker my son for so long.
Where's he at now?
Gone.
Playing in the freaking Euro League somewhere.
I know.
Overseas.
He's over here playing in Latvia or something. I don't know where the hell he's at. So, yeah, Bruce Bowen was better than Jeremy Sohan. Dude, are we ever going to see Jeremy Sohan getting Defensive Player of the Year nominations?
Never.
Top 10? They quit this whole thing about how he's a lockdown defender.
They say,
he's a lockdown defender who can guard multiple positions. Shut the hell up, dude. He's an above average defender.
Yeah.
He's an above average defender. If you were going to give him a letter grade, he's a B plus defender, which, don't get me wrong, that's better than average. But to come out and say that he's Pat Beverly, that he's Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Davis, lockdown, like the way that Draymond used to be back in the... No, he's not. He had one good game against Luka, and everyone still holds on to that.
You know who would
that was one of our first impressions.
Spurs fans don't really give some of the centers, right, that we had in the past their due. But you had players like Will Perdue. You had Rasho Nesterovic, right?
Yeah.
You had Fabrizio Oberto, right? You had Thiago Splitter. And these guys weren't flashy, when it came to just playing the center position. But the one thing they did is they played their position well, and they did go on to help the Spurs win.
What they did was they knew their role.
Yeah.
And everyone had a role on the team. If you can go to 2 bucks, please.
Sure.
Everyone knew their role with what they were doing on the team, and that's the thing, Duncan, every single member of the Spurs team, Duncan could have been a guy that averaged 28, 29, 30 points per game if they wanted to use him in that way. Manu could have averaged 23 to 25 points if they started him and played him 36, 38 minutes. Parker could have been, a 22 and 12 guy if they wanted to use him in that way. But the Spurs had pieces of the puzzle that fit very well together. Everyone wanted to win, and they put winning in front of everything else. Okay? They put winning ahead of all things, and they humbled themselves for victories. They brought in people who knew their role. Bruce Bowen, corner 3.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr, light up a 3. Robert Horry, played aggressive, tough defense and be there for
Even
the 3 when we need him.
Brent Berry shooting threes.
Look at all those people that we just mentioned right there that the Spurs has shooting threes.
Robert Horry,
Horry,
one of the best.
Kerr. Even back in the day, Bertans back in the day could light it
The
up.
Latavian laser.
The Spurs had shooters around their star, and that's what they haven't done with with Wemby.
What's the
Cha-
new regime with Brian Wright?
Well, Champagne started out looking pretty good this year at that. He has fallen off the face of the earth, man. He's gone back to cardio Champagne. He was. I made fun of him for a year and a
more
half,
popping bottles.
calling him cardio, and not anymore. Hannah Fist says not good when Champagne is the best shooter on the team. We have a Tex-Mex Frank coming in with a $1.99
Super chat.
super
here.
chat coming in saying Cowboy fan grito of pain for Jerry's choice.
We got to do it, man. You paid for it.
The Rocky 3. What's the Cowboys season going to look like next year?
Pain.
Pain.
Mr. T. Pain.
Presumir a mis amigos les conté que en el
Yeah. I just want to let everybody know Chris Leha might go to this party on Saturday. From what we talked, right? And he said he's trying real hard to show up. And I told him, damn it, if you go to this party on Saturday, we're going to have a new grito that's powered by MCS General Contracting. And I'm going to get Leha doing the grito.
Nice. WWE's JD McDonough. We talked about pain. He broke his ribs and punctured his lung during WWE Raw.
Ouch. Show this. What in the world?
So apparently this was it. Well, actually, that's a Royal Rumble.
Raw.
Well, let me see here. Let's see here.
Oh.
Oh, you can fake a lot, but I don't think you can fake that one.
Ooh.
Punctured lung and broke his ribs.
Oh, that was botched.
JD McDonough, hope you feel better, my man. Hope you feel better.
Not good when Champagne's the best shooter, they were saying. And they were telling Tex-Mex Frank the grito costs $4.99, bro. Not for Tex-Mex Frank. Not for Tex-Mex Frank.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Look at this, Mario Cavazos. Pledge. What is your favorite song to karaoke? What do you think Pledge would sing?
I think he'd sing like Bye 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 by NSYNC. And I'm not saying that in a flippant way or a make fun of kind of way. He does good. He knows how to dance that song. I think it's Bye Bye Bye.
Really?
Yeah.
Rip my ears because they're playing the grito. Look at Champagne would not be the best shooter if he were
On about 28 other teams. Yeah, Sohan would be like the ninth. If Sohan played for the Celtics, he'd be, what, the 10th player off the bench?
Yeah. Sohan be coming off the bench. No, he would probably be the third option, man.
NBA action tonight on TNT. You had the Lakers taking on the 76ers. 76ers finally getting some wins, finally doing their thing. Rockets taking on the Atlanta Hawks. That's a 6:30 tip. Again, we need to have that that win for the Rockets. We're cheering for the Rockets today, Joe.
Are we? So Space City
Jimenez is cheering for the Rockets.
You know what, Swiss? If you heard that, it's Space City Jimenez. Do your thing, brother.
We need the Rockets to win this game. So, yes, I'm cheering for the Rockets today.
Put Mike's face on somebody wearing a Houston Rockets jersey.
Jazz taking on the Warriors in Golden State. Bucks taking on the Trailblazers. I saw this thing the other day on Twitter. I'm going to see if I can find it. It said the most disappointing player for every team. NBA most disappointing player. Who would you say is the most disappointing player for the Spurs? Oh, here it is.
I saw that. I retweeted it. So let me go ahead and put it on the screen.
So here are some of the names they have on there. Like Atlanta, Bogdan Bogdanovic. Boston, Drew Holiday. Nick Claxton of the Brooklyn Nets. The Hornets with Micic. And Patrick Williams of the Bulls. And Donovan Mitchell for Cleveland. Goes all the way to the Spurs. And they have the Spurs having Keldon Johnson as the most disappointing player of the year for the Spurs.
Keldon Johnson.
Do you buy that?
Keldon Johnson is the most disappointing player for the Spurs?
I think that's off.
You know who the most disappointing player for the Spurs is? And has been.
Don't say Zach Collins because
It's been Zach Collins.
But Zach Collins is nothing.
He's booty crumbs.
But Zach Collins was not was not projected to be anything for this team this year.
I'll tell you who the most disappointing player for me personally who has been this season. Devin Vassell. You know why? Because I want to see more consistency out of this kid. He's been with the Spurs a couple of seasons already. Injured, okay. Try to give him a pass. He comes back, he gets his burn, he gets his playing time, and he shows up some games and then disappears in the next. Shows up again, disappears in the next. To me, he's been the biggest disappointment because he's shown you little flashes of what he can aspire to be, but he just can't do it consistently.
I'm gonna have that's a good name to consider. I would say that, let's go line by line. Wemby's going to be an all-star. He's not the disappointment.
No, not at all.
Barnes has been the most consistent player. He's a Toyota Corolla.
Yeah. Even CP3.
CP3, even if he is disappointing from time to time, he's old, so you expect that.
39.
Champagny balled out early in the season.
Yeah.
It's not Castle. So really, you're left with three players. I wouldn't even say Keldon. Keldon is the motor. Is still the motor out there. I think he's doing better than what most people thought he was going to be. So you're left with three names, Joe. And Zach Collins doesn't count. And Mamu doesn't count. And
Yeah, they don't get enough.
Blake
burn.
Wesley and Malachi, they don't count. City doesn't count. So you're left with three names: Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, and Trey Jones. I'm going to say that Trey Jones is my most disappointing player. Like, he played himself off this team. He's had some moments where he's been playing with Castle, and, you have two fast point guards going out there, and we're starting to see a little bit more of that. Sohan, the disappointment is the injury. And it's like, is he really injured or not? Like, how bad is this injury? Are they just being delicate with him? Is he soft? 14 minutes the other day. The guy's played half the season. When he's out there, he's getting his putbacks. He's had a few good three-point attempts the last couple of games, last 5 or 6 games.
But what's happened with Sohan is they play him, he plays a couple games, sit him out because he's injured again, back hurts. If the lower back problem is going to be something that's going to be nagging, got to look at the durability at some point.
Well, I mean, his first season was a COVID season, so that might be part of it all. But you look at, he's played just 24 games this year. He's only played half the games.
You know who's due for injury right now?
Who's that?
Devin Vassell.
He is due.
Isn't this the time usually he gets hurt every year?
But I think Vassell is, the problem with Vassell now is that we need to understand that he is who he is. We know what kind of, there's no new gear to him, and the Spurs have him on the team for a while. Look at the Spurs payroll right now. Devin Vassell's on this team till 2029, Joe.
Damn. 4
more seasons. Now his income per year is going down. It's going to go down from 27 to 24 at some point. From 29 to 27 to 24. He has one of those Keldon Johnson type contracts where it doesn't get more expensive as time goes on. They pay them high up front and then it gets lower and lower. But next year, the Spurs already have the roster pretty much already set up, Joe. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We already have 12 of the 15 roster spots already taken.
Well, they're going to draft, right?
And if we have 3 first-rounders, then there's no room there to then get a free agent unless the Spurs
What do you
pull a
think
trade.
the Spurs are really going to do? Spurs fans are be excited if the Spurs get 2 first-round picks, high picks, right, in top 10 or something.
Right.
What do you think the Spurs are really going to do with those 2 picks? Are they going to actually draft them for the team, or are they going to be like like happened in the previous draft?
They have to draft them for the team because this is a strong draft this year.
Well, I'm just saying the thing is with the way that the Spurs think sometimes is Brian Reich likes his picks. So it wouldn't surprise me if he drafted one of those picks, right? He drafts and then he gives it to another team.
Well, it's hard to bring on 3 first-rounders at one time because,
true.
as the saying goes, the bill comes due at the same time.
Yep.
Right? So the bill coming due is, Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, and Jeremy Sohan drafted in the same year in 2022. Are you really going to draft 3 first-rounders this year? James Pledger is entering a sports star. By the way, his show is from 6 to 7. It's called Extra Innings with James Pledger. 6 to 7 Monday through Friday on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, saying can't trade Vassell for Markkanen. Remember? LOL. Spurs fans all upset.
Oh, he was asking you a question.
Yeah. What were your expectations for Jones? It's kind of hard to say. When they draft Castle, and Castle says he wants to play point, they bring in CP3. It makes it difficult to have expectations for Jones. But Jones, when he does have the opportunity to play, at least early on in the season, was not doing very well. So the most disappointing Spurs player right now has to either be Sohan or Vassell.
I say Vassell.
And I'd go with you on that. But Vassell has had a pretty decent end of the month.
Yeah, but the problem is, why can't he do it consistently? That's supposed to be your 1-2 punch is Vassell and Wemby.
But he's not a number 2, man.
But basically that's your 1-2 punch.
The blossoming number 2 is Castle.
Castle, yeah. Castle, and I've said this in the beginning of the season too, after a couple games that I saw of Castle. Castle's ceiling is higher than Vassell. I think Vassell's already peaked. He is who he is.
He has already peaked.
He is who he is.
Keldon Johnson's already peaked.
Yeah.
Zach Collins has already peaked. Trey Jones has already peaked.
Castle?
Castle has some room for improvement. Can Castle be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Kid's got hops, athleticism, great basketball IQ, not afraid. I mean, his passing ability is great as well. And I think that's another thing that Spurs fans kind of look over when they look at Wemby. Wemby's a great passing big man. He can pass the shit out of the ball. You know what? And this is one thing I wanted to show Spurs fans about. We've been screaming since the beginning of the season. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Chris Paul preaching the same thing here. Look at what he said here. This is via Hector Ledesma, friend of the show. He says, until we consistently put it all together, it's going to be tough on us. Chris Paul and the Spurs, inconsistency as they move forward. Chris Paul being a savvy veteran, 39 years of age. He's seen it all, played on multiple teams. He knows what it takes to win. And right now he knows that this team doesn't have it, dude. They're lacking that consistency. They don't have the ganas. The wimpy ganas always show up, dude. All the time. Look at what happened when they went to Paris. They won that first game. You know that the Pacers were going to come out hungry and get that second game, go and body Wemby. Somebody else has to step up, and they all folded, man. They showed their bellies. Devin Vassell, Sohan. That's not going to cut it. I think they had like 2 points, 6 points. Like, come on, man.
Dude, Chris Paul being a Spur next week, trade deadline on Thursday. I see what you're saying about the consistency, Joe. I see what you're saying about how, the Spurs need to develop these players better. They need to understand the winning formula, winning combinations. Drew Show bringing it up with this super chat right here. $5.47 super chat saying, I'll say it. Champagne went downhill as soon as he went to the bench for Vassell. That was our winningest lineup, period, full stop. Ginobili. He paid for it. Ginobili. Okay. Thank you for the super chat there, Drew. They tinkered with a lineup that was winning. Look at Castle when Castle goes from starting versus bench player. Completely different guy.
He loves to be the starter, man.
Yeah, he plays. He has a different motor. He gets involved in the game quicker when he's starting. He's just a better player as a starter. He's not very good as a bench player. Vassell, though, actually thrived on the bench role. They bring him up to starter, and it's one of those things where he didn't get any better going from bench to starter.
No.
But we saw other players get worse. Adam Schefter right now, if you want to show my screen.
Sure.
Just revealed Kansas City Chiefs are going to wear white for Super Bowl 59 in a couple of weeks, which means the Eagles are going to wear green. So we now know the colors. There's a logo right there. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 57. This time going to be played not in Phoenix, but it's going to be played in 57 was played in Phoenix. 59 going to be played in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's a good looking logo.
Yeah, it looks nice. I don't know about the halftime show.
Kendrick Lamar and SZA. I like it.
Eh.
It's not for you.
I mean, I'll watch it, but I'll be like, eh.
So remember Eric Stone Street from Modern Family?
Yeah, I remember him.
He's. It says here that he was on ESPN's on NFL Game Day mocking Adam Schefter. Let's see what he had to say.
Got to take him off mute, Mike.
Oh, I thought I had him off mute.
No, look, no, it's not down there. It's actually in the picture.
Mahomes in his tweet, like, going to be a game. Don't get mired down in Adam Schefter's tweet about the league is favoring the Chiefs. I mean, he calls out Patrick Mahomes in his tweet, like Patrick Mahomes is the only one on the beneficiary end of a roughing the passer call. He's got the biggest reach in all the NFL, and here he's out implying and furthering this conspiracy that the league is rigging the game against us. Here's the deal.
Cam, they are. He's forever Cam. Okay. Tony says not really excited about the Super Bowl. You know, it is what it is, dude. It is what it is.
How many times do you think they're going to show Taylor Swift, man?
Well, they win, and if Kelsey
What was
balls
that?
out,
What was that brother's name? Go down a little bit, like scroll up. That T.J. Hawk, crooked-looking bastard right there. No, go up, right there. There he is. Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
Show. That guy's creepy, man. Isn't that guy? What's his name? T.J. Hawk or something?
oh yeah, AJ Hawk.
A.J. Hawk, yeah.
AJ Hawk is a creepy looking dude. They have him on a 2 or 3 box the entire show,
God, dude.
and he's just like this.
The eyes, man.
We mentioned yesterday Jennifer Lopez potentially dating Kevin Costner.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, you may want to go to TMZ because she had a cochino dress on the other day.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. J-Lo.
It's almost
gonna keep
reminiscent of
keeping
the
it
green
low.
dress. The green dress, remember from way back when
Yeah.
with Diddy.
Joe, what you got going on this weekend, man?
Nothing, man. Just getting prepared for the party that we have on Saturday at the Hidden Tavern.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna be bouncing back and forth from Houston to San Antonio, Houston to San Antonio, Houston to San Antonio. Here's what I got going on. My girlfriend got a new house today,
Nice.
so I'm gonna help her move in this week. Then I'm gonna try to jet on back for the party, then head on back over there. I actually need to have a co-host fill in next week because I have a business trip next week. Just found out about it last night. They gave me 10 cities to choose from as to where to go for training.
Mm-hmm.
So my company got bought out by another company, and they brought in all new software, and everyone's confused as to how the software works. So what they did was they created 10 locations around the country where you can go do a 9-hour crash course on it all. And they gave me choices of Irvine, California, New Jersey, all that stuff. But there's one in Houston, so I'm going to go to the Houston one.
So you can be with Chica.
Well, I'm going to be at the Galleria Marriott.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so no, it's not a vacation. I'm actually working over there. So it looks like Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm going to need to have a co-host here or a fill-in host.
We must see if we can get some people, man. Maybe we can get Elias to join us here. Or Lerma and Elias, somebody, man.
Yeah.
One day and the next day somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind having Leha, man, but he's the hardest working man in San Antonio.
Yeah, Leia was asking the question, what time does the party start? And I think we're going to try to get things going at 7, but the singing starts at 8. Will James Pledger be out there? That's the thing.
Yeah, you're invited, Pledge. Hope to see you there.
Man, Pledge is the hardest working man in all of radio, dude, here in San Antonio. So it's just one of those things where he might just be tired.
Oh, look, he says, I can't tell again, blurry. Do you have to buy Black Magic Mini Pro, Joe? No, I just got to probably get a better, what do you call it, capture card. I think it's just the capture card that's connected to the computer because we have really high quality video coming in, because we use OBS Studio, right, to go ahead and then use the virtual camera.
Mm-hmm.
And this is exactly what you all see. But in OBS, when I'm looking at this screen that Drew's always talking about, that he says looks blurry, on my end, it's crystal clear. On y'all's end, it's blurry as hell. And I was like, I don't understand why that is. I can try adjusting the resolution, but overall, I'll probably just wind up getting a new capture card.
Joe, I'm on bookies.com. I mentioned that the last remaining NFL head coaching position that's still available belongs to the New Orleans Saints. And bookies.com has updated their odds
What is it
because
now?
people have said no to the Saints.
Dude.
So right now, the leader right now with 3-1 odds, Kellen Moore, Eagles offensive coordinator. 3.5 to 1 odds, Mike McCarthy, former Cowboys head coach. Giants offensive coordinator who's already interviewed with them, Mike Kafka, is 4.5 to 1 odds. And they have some other names over there. Anthony Weaver, Bobby Slowick, who is the former Texans offensive coordinator, just got let go the other day. It's 6.5 to 1 odds. Cliff Kingsbury, Commanders offensive coordinator. Matt Nagy, Chiefs offensive coordinator. And then you have at 15 to 1 odds, Darren Rizzi, who was the interim head coach last year for the Saints. It's amazing how every single one of these guys is better than Brian Schottenheimer. How is it that the Saints have this as a potential pool of candidates
Yeah.
when the Cowboys had just Brian Schottenheimer? The Nyosa medals have been announced.
Have they?
Let's take a look at that real fast. I have to do KSATs because my daughter writes for KSAT.
Gabby.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get Gabby in here, by the way. We have to do it on a day that she maybe can be in the studio.
Well, here's the Fiesta medals. Shop the full collection of medals here. Dude, do you buy any of these things?
Never, dude. I get gifted medals, but I don't buy them.
What is this right here?
I don't know.
Isn't that supposed to be like a Deadpool Wolverine thing?
Yeah.
$20, Joe.
Nah, I'm good.
You don't want a Deadpool Wolverine Fiesta medal?
Nah, what am I going to do with it? It's just going to sit in my drawer somewhere.
Yeah, I've got a collection of them that
like,
just I'd rather have the money back.
Exactly. If they give me one, I'll wear it. But I'm not going to be like collecting them like a sash.
Is that a French
you know?
Bulldog one?
Yeah.
What is this thing right here? This blue.
You know, it'd be cool if we had our own medal that we could just give out to the fans that had the alien with the sombrero on it.
That would be popular, dude.
Yeah.
That'd be popular. Dude, $20, $10 a medal. I know people who spend hundreds of dollars a year on these things and have like jackets and vests.
The bandolier.
Yeah.
You know, come on, man.
There's a Donald Trump medal.
Hey, that one's
a Trump bottle opener medal.
That's a bottle opener, yeah.
Got an Elvira one.
God.
Let's look at the other ones. A Jeep one. Dude, I don't know how much Fiesta I'm going to do this year, man. I don't know.
Taste of the North Side?
Dude, that's not Fiesta, man. I don't care what all those people say. It's not Fiesta, dude. It's not Fiesta if you have to pay $300 to get in.
Yeah.
My question is, because they're charging at Market Square this year, if I'm not mistaken, right? Does the riffraff leave?
I think they're going to start charging to go into Market Square. They have to, dude. Because if they don't charge, they can't price them out.
JHNSB says Mike has ice on speed dial. Dude, is ice going to be at Market Square?
You're going to be the Karen. You're going to be the Karen at Market Square. Yes, I'd like to report a bunch of Mexicans gathered together here.
Yeah.
They're too ethnic.
They're too ethnic.
They're too ethnic.
A Mike Edgar medal. That would be nice.
God. You know that Tony Ornelas would wear that, dude. The Cuache Mike.
Let's talk about NISD varsity. Who's ranked number 1 for NISD varsity boys basketball? I have no idea. I didn't even look at the standings, Joe. I show up to games not even knowing the standings or who the star player is. Maybe I should. But I have 2 games tonight. If you guys want to go check out my games, if you want to go yell at me or whatever, roast me in person. Oh, dude, I love officiating here, man. Wait a minute. I'm at Highlands High School tonight.
Are you?
But Highlands isn't playing. That's weird. I'm doing the boys varsity at 5 o'clock between Brackenridge and Sam Houston. And then I have a 6:30 tip-off between Brackenridge and Sam Houston with the girls varsity. So I got back-to-back varsity games tonight. Boys start off and then the girls afterwards. So I'll get paid. Today's paycheck will be, SAISD will have to pay me $180 tonight.
Not bad.
Not bad for 2.5 hours of work.
Look at this, man. When a friend of the show here, Tim Gonzalez has been telling us in the chat here that the NCAA March Madness, the national championship tip-off time has changed. Now it's going to be starting off at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time, 30 minutes earlier than typical start time. So that's about 7:50 San Antonio time. So
Yeah. That's not bad.
not bad. But they are going to be having the free concerts. They already started showing commercials. Did you see that? For that, I guess like a little fiesta that they have going on for the NCAA March Madness over at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. And you have to pay a couple bucks to get in there. But if you're a Capital One card holder like me, I got 2 of the credit cards, right? You get in free.
Have they announced
They haven't. I don't know if they've
the
announced the
concerts?
acts. No, I don't know. Haven't looked.
that's pretty close. So your 2025 NCAA March Madness concert, because last time it was Maroon 5 and it was One Republic and Daya.
Imagine Dragons was there.
That's right.
I was there for that concert too. And Panic at the Disco, my daughter wanted to see them, so we went to go
I
see
saw them too.
Yeah. I was hanging out by the Buffalo Wild Wings tent, dude. The little place that they had, the mobile pop-up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the move, man. That's the move.
So the block party is going to be April 4th, 5th, and 6th. Dude, I might not even be in town, man. Oh, wait, no, I get back in town. That's the week I'm going to Jamaica. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to Jamaica in April. I'm sorry. March is different. Well, what am I doing in March? I'm going to Babyface concert in Louisiana.
There you go. Who's the music acts, man?
Yeah, I'm looking on the website right now. They haven't announced.
There's the March Madness Music Festival.
I went the one year that they had in Dallas. I went to go see. It was the Killers. It was Bruce Springsteen, Fun, Tim McGraw, LL Cool J. It was pretty cool. It was weird going from LL Cool J to Tim McGraw to the Killers in one day.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I wonder if you do have a cap, because I remember when I was in line, I don't know if it was a Saturday or a Sunday, because it was a Capital One, right, that was sponsoring that event, the concerts that day. Mm-hmm. And they were going down the line, and they're like, do you have a Capital One credit card? Because if you do, you get to go to the Capital One VIP lounge, and you get to go to the front of the line. Well, I sure enough have 2 cards this year. So y'all better take me somewhere.
Y'all better ask somebody. Well, Joe, let's call it an early show, man. I got to get to the office today. No Lululemon shirt today, though, but I wore the Lululemon shorts.
No more Lululemon.
Mm-hmm.
Uptown cheapskate.
Very nice. Tim Gonzalez said we need some Tejano music for the Final Four. They're actually trying to attract people downtown, not repel them.
They could go to Market Square.
Tejano died in '95. I don't think people know that.
You're going to be calling ICE.
Oh, by the way, we didn't pour one out for Gilbert's Mexican Restaurant.
Oh man, that's right. A staple here on Marbach, dude. Closing. They're shutting doors.
It closed. Well, it already did.
Mm-hmm. Shut their doors over the weekend.
Former Tejano musician, and then his family took over. That was on Marbach and 410 behind the gas station, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, been around for 40 years.
For 40 years. It was funny. You'd walk in there, they'd have all the photos of all the Tejano stars like Selena Quintanilla and all that who had eaten there at some point. Emilio Navarra and all that stuff, right? The chairs that were there, the booths, were old ones from gyms. like they bought them from gyms.
Yeah, and they put them there.
They put them there. You could tell it was gyms because the gym's logo was on them still.
Oh gosh.
It was a hole in the wall restaurant. I told John Dyer, who's a listener of the show, I told him, I said, man, Lupita's is like the only one that stands. Lupita's and Tacos Martinez are the only ones still standing.
What was the name
from
of that?
back in the day?
The one place that's across from John Jay. I forgot the name of that Mexican restaurant. It's been there forever too, dude.
Yeah.
They got those little places right there. And of course everybody knows Hector's Tire Shop.
Yeah. Gilbert's Mexican Restaurant, fantastic. Now, who's this saying that I read that Gilbert's going to stay? I didn't see that, man. I haven't seen that yet.
No, I haven't seen that yet. I mean, last that I heard when they were interviewing
the owner does say it's going to stay open for now. It says Gilbert's Mexican Restaurant will stay open for now After reaching their fundraising goal over the weekend to avoid closure, they announced on Facebook.
Maybe we got to go hit up Gilbert's.
I did find that weird that they were doing a GoFundMe.
You got to pay the bills, bro. Maybe people don't want it to close, and they're just gonna keep going there and supporting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of disappointed that the NCAA still hasn't announced their music acts. They just have event opens, event concludes, but they don't have any times. It just says Central Time as far as the time zone. It's going to be located at 801 East Cesar Chavez Boulevard.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not saying much. Let me see what it says.
Well, I'm looking at who last year was. Would we have been excited about last year's concert venue? Last year's concert was the Jonas Brothers. Zed, who's a very popular DJ, Mumford and Sons, and the Black Keys. That was last year's. Free concert set.
Yeah, they said headliners who have celebrated the Final Four March Madness in past years has been Bruce Springsteen, East Street Band, Rihanna, Kendrick Lamar, Dave Matthews Band, Imagine Dragons, Keith Urban, Jonas Brothers, Jimmy Buffett, Maroon 5, The Killers, Pitbull, and many others.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not saying who's going to be performing here for free here in San Antonio.
So I'm looking at it. They made the announcement last year on March 6th.
Damn. This is happening April the 5th through the 7th.
So, yeah, March 6th was the day that they did it last year. So I guess they're going to go to the last minute to try to figure it all out. But we'll get somebody good.
We should be Ness. You look at this. Can you guys go live at Fred's Fry on Marbach?
Yeah, I don't want to disturb any drug deals that's going on over
Why
there
not?
with Fred's
Saca la
Fish Fry.
bolsita.
Hey, let's show me some love real fast.
Sure.
210-508-0369. That's my number when it comes to financial advising. I've been doing it for 19 years, focusing on retirement planning, life insurance, disability, and long-term care. Manage millions and millions of dollars, and that's just what I do on a Monday through Friday, man. And I have business all over San Antonio, Corpus, Houston, Dallas, Louisiana, Florida, the Hill Country, Austin, all over the place, man.
Yeah.
And wherever the business is at, I go to. So again, 210-508-0369. I am a fiduciary, which means everything I say and do needs to be in the client's best interest. But I got to let everybody go. We have new software at work, so I've got to learn how it all works. And, of course, there's kinks in the whole system. I got to see my client accounts and whatnot. So everyone have a fantastic day. We'll be back tomorrow.